I decided to build this studio here because I wanted to get away from the city. So we're surrounded by nature. It's a very inspirational place to mix, to write music, to create, to relax, to be inspired. So we're sitting in this just lush, green, beautiful canyon that's literally all my own. I've had a couple studios downtown, one on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood and another in Burbank on Magnolia, which were great. They're great commercial spots, a lot of fun, but it was a commercial spot. You know, it's a city, there's cars, there's noise, there's people. And I built this studio initially for myself just to work and bring my work to work. And clients started coming here and they're like, I don't want to go to the city anymore. I like coming up. This feels like a retreat. This is like a tree house. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? And one thing led to another, and I left those studios down, and I'm exclusively working here now at Allen Audio Works. When I first found the house, of course, I was looking for a house with a space to build a studio. And this space here is very large. It's a 5-car garage, which I converted into a studio. And there was lots of challenges. There was a big giant water heater and plumbing, a big overhang. Lots of work needed to be done just to create the shell. And once the shell was created, we shot the room, we shot the acoustics of the room, and basically created the perfect reverb time for this space. With diffusion, with absorption, with materials, so the room just sounded good as it is already. So once we brought in the Atmos system, it just popped. And RSPE was a big part of that, obviously guiding me and directing me and helping me install this massive system, because it's a big upgrade, going from 5.1 to Dolby Atmos. But it sounds amazing and I couldn't be happier. It was really important for me to build a studio that inspired creativity. And being in nature was a key element of this studio, because I wanted it to feel light, organic, and basically inspirational every time I come in here and work. And PMC helps with that. The detail, the transparency in what I'm hearing, whether I'm mixing a film with 700 plus tracks or even a small string quartet. It gives me that detail and edge that other speakers don't give me. And I just am very inspired by that and the speakers and the way they speak to me. The reason we want a little life in here is because as a composer, I record in here. It has a beautiful sound, lots of solo instruments, small ensembles. We shoot ADR in this room because it sounds so beautiful and it doesn't sound you're talking into a tone. You know, it's not an ADR booth. There's a room right next door here that I originally slated for ADR. We ran cabling, set it all up. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, no way, I'm recording in here. So we set up in here, ADR is just flawless. And the same with Foley, and lots of props we can do in here. So it's a very versatile stage. There's different setups. I have a composing setup, I have an ADR setup, I have a Foley setup, I have a live musician setup, and it's a very versatile room, and they just really complement one another in what I do here. For ADR, I have classic Manley Avalon preamps, but lately I've been using the Pueblo preamp. Just an amazing, beautiful, and warm preamp that just works in every situation for both vocal and prop work. It's just a wonderful, wonderful tool. When I'm mixing near field, all of my PMC 6 is set up right here, and it's just, you know, the PMC speaker, the detail, the organic beauty of these speakers is just fantastic. I can't mix without them. And then I'll have a cinematic theatrical setup where I will just simply use my LCR behind the screen, my 2 subs, my Atmos and surrounds, and remove the 6s so we just have a clear view of the stage. It's been a joy to record ADR here because we have a lot of A-list clients that come up here and they're just absolutely blown away by the drive up the canyon and the view of the canyon. It's just absolutely spectacular. So this really gets them into the mood too. They're very relaxed, they're very fun, they can easily get back into character, And then when I pair that with my microphone and preamp setup, it's amazing. Typically, I'm working on 7 movies at any given time, and it can be very, very demanding. I have a crew of people that work with me, a dialogue editor, a couple of effects editors, and a Foley editor. And by them working remotely, it allows me to pull in and pre-dub and prepare these mixes for the clients when they come in. But it can be very, very challenging. And many of the times, I'm scoring the movie, I'm designing the movie, and I'm mixing the movie. So that is even more intense. But what I love there is that I have this overall view of the sound. You know, sound design is just everything that you hear. You hear dialogue, you hear footsteps, you hear props, you hear movement, you hear cloth, all these little details and how you put them together with the music so they cohabitate and they work together and not against each other. You know, many times on stages, you know, the music will come in and it's going completely the different direction of the sound design. So adjustments will need to be made in the mix, which costs time and deadlines. Whereas if I'm sort of directing the sound and the architecture of the whole sound environment, this is already done in the music because I know what to anticipate in the sound design. And so when I tie it all together in the mix, that's where the magic happens. And that's where I get to use these wonderful tools here in my studio. To balance creativity and deadlines, that's the ultimate question, right? It's so difficult to do. When there's a deadline and you need to be creative, what do? Well, being in nature really helps. It keeps you calm, it keeps your mind clear. Going outside for a few moments and coming back in always gives me new ideas. When I'm in this space, it just feels like an extension of nature. I'm very inspired. And then of course, with the tools I'm using, PMC, the S6, Pro Tools, it really integrates all that and makes the workflow so easy and manageable when I am under these massive deadlines. For me, PMC is second to none. The clarity, the detail, the depth, the warmth, the honesty, the transparency, you're really getting everything out of these speakers, which really helps me create on the front end. Whether I'm composing, whether I'm mixing, I'm getting this beautiful detail in my mixes. I had other speakers. Prior to this, I was mixing on JBL. They were good, but the detail on the frequency bandwidth, there's no comparison. This comes to life. When I mix here, it completely comes to life. PMC is amazing and will mix with no other speakers ever again.